हरे कृष्णा। नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामिनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा. So welcome back to the fifth day of this course, The Royal Road Ahead, Bhava and Prema Bhakti. So we have been discussing for the last 4 days from mainly the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu about Bhava Bhakti. We haven't yet started discussing about Prema Bhakti. Hopefully today or tomorrow we will start. We have some sections still left to be discussed under the theme of Bhava Bhakti. So yesterday we primarily discussed about Rati Abhas or reflection of Bhava. So on this topic we discussed that if you see someone who is not possessing these 9 qualities, Kshantir Avyartakalatvam, Viraktir Manashunyata and so on, if these 9 qualities are not manifest, but still you see that there are some aspects of external symptoms that are seen, like tears are flowing from his eyes, such symptoms are seen. We saw that it could be due to 3 or 4 possibilities. One possibility is that the person may actually be, even though he may be interacting with something connected to Krishna, he may be meditating on something material and which could trigger off that emotion. That could be one reason. So he is seeing something spiritual, but he is thinking of something material and then he becomes emotional about it. The second reason could be a person could have established a sentimental relationship with Krishna, therefore it could be a sentimental outpour. That could be the second reason. And the third reason is that in order to gain some puja labh pratishta, some fame, etc., someone could just be plain acting. It could be a rehearsed show. So that could be one of the reasons, the third thing. And the fourth thing, the fourth possibility is that it could be what we call as Rati Abhas or Bhava Abhas. So we discussed about this Rati Abhas in detail. I will just quickly do a recap of what we saw. So what is this Rati Abhas? So this Rati Abhas is when there are Vyaktam Masrinitevantar Lakshate Rati Lakshanam Mumukshu Prabhutinam Chet Bhaved Esha Ratir Nahi. So Srila Rupa Goswami says that sometimes in a person who has deep attraction for liberation, he is a Muktikami or a Bhuktikami, but in that person there is some manifestation of softness of heart, which is manifested by the external symptoms of hair standing on end or tears flowing from the eyes. So in that case that is called as Rati Abhas, because Srila Rupa Goswami says when Krishna hesitates to give Bhava Bhakti and Prema Bhakti even to those practicing pure devotional service, then how can such a Bhava Bhakti manifest in a person who is practicing mixed devotional service, who has a strong desire for liberation or material enjoyment? It is practically impossible for such a person to manifest real Bhava or real Rati. So therefore he says, Kintu Bala Chamatkara Kari Tat Chinna Vikshaya Abhigyena Subodhoyam Ratyabhasa Prakirtitah. So such manifestation of the external symptoms of Bhava will only cause confusion or bewilderment in only those people who do not know anything about the stage of Bhava, who are not knowledgeable. But a knowledgeable person very clearly identifies it as Rati Abhas. And this Rati Abhas is of 2 types. Pratibimbas Tata Chaya Ratyabhaso Dvidamata. So there is Pratibimba Ratyabhas and Chaya Ratyabhas. So now what is this Pratibimba Ratyabhas? So this Pratibimba Ratyabhas is when there is a strong desire for liberation or other such material desire which may be very strong, and still there is manifestation of the symptoms, then that is called as pratibimba ratyabhas. And then we saw why does one manifest this pratibimba ratyabhas. Why is that person becoming so emotional? Even though when he does not even have the basic requirement of pure devotional faith, why is that person becoming so emotional when he comes in touch with Krishna? So Srila Rupa Goswami says, Daivat sadbhakta sangena kirtanadi anusarinam prayah prasanna manasam bhoga mokshadi raginam keshamchit hridi bhavendo pratibimba udanchati tad bhakta hrin nabhas tasya tat samsarga prabhavatah. He says that sometimes the moon of bhava which is present in the heart of a very exalted pure devotee gets reflected in the heart of this mixed devotee. So when this mixed devotee sometimes comes to the temple, in the midst of kirtan and standing in front of the deities, and also when he comes in contact with such this exalted pure devotee, the moon of bhava which is present within the heart of this devotee gets reflected in the heart of this mixed devotee, and it creates a very deep impact, and sometimes that manifests in the form of these sattvika bhavas, and then he starts crying or he becomes very emotional, and it stays for a while. So this is called as pratibimba ratyabhas, and this happens when this devotee comes in touch with a very exalted devotee. And then we saw about chaya ratyabhas. Chaya means shadow, and a shadow has much more attributes which are far less similar to the original object, whereas a reflection has more symptoms. So in the case of pratibimba, because the desire for liberation and desire for material desire is very, very strong, therefore that reflection also is very strong and prolonged. Therefore even after the association of the devotee, he leaves the association of that devotee, it stays for some time. Whereas in the case of chaya ratyabhas, he says, Kshudra kautuhalamayi chanchala dukkha harini rates chaya bhavet kimchit tad sadrishya avalambini. It is mentioned that in the case of this chaya ratyabhas, the person possesses only some small transient curiosity about Krishna. What these people are doing? Let me just try find out. There is lot of noise coming from inside the temple. What are they doing? I am just very curious. And out of curiosity he may come inside, and he may actually develop some, and in the association of that devotee he may develop a faint reflection of that bhava which is present within the heart of that pure devotee. Okay. But in either cases, whether it is pratibimba or chaya, it is mentioned that the person who experiences this ratyabhas is very, very fortunate, because abhishta nirvahi, it is mentioned. In the pratibimba ratyabhas, it is mentioned that it very quickly, this ratyabhas fulfills the desire of liberation or material desires that the person has. And in the case of chaya ratyabhas, it very quickly removes the suffering, adhyatmic, adhibhautik and adhidaivik suffering that is undergone by this mixed devotee or this curious person. So therefore even this ratyabhas is very, very exalted. That is the potency of coming in touch with a pure devotee. So what causes this chaya ratyabhas? It is mentioned that sometimes the person may come to temple during Janmashtami or some festival day, or he may come to the dham and there he may associate with the devotees out of just curiosity, and that curiosity is sufficient to develop this chaya ratyabhas sometimes in such people, and it is also very fortunate. And such people, unlike Pratibimba Ratyabhas, when the person leaves the association of that pure devotee, very quickly the effect of that Ratyabhas wanes away and he becomes very normal. Then the next theme that we discussed was beware of offenses. So we saw that how sometimes if the mercy, prolonged association of that pure devotee is there for a long time, that bhava bhas can become true bhava actually very quickly. Whereas if that person may offend that devotee, then very quickly that bhava may get de-escalated to bhava bhas. It is mentioned that sometimes if the devotee is very exalted and one commits a very serious offense, then even if that person may be at the stage of bhava, he may lose that bhava. And in the case of, if it is a medium offense, then that bhava may become bhava bhas. And if it is a slight offense against a very exalted devotee, then that if the superior type of bhava may become an inferior type of bhava. Like for example, Sakya bhava may become Shanta bhava, or Sakya rati may become Shanta rati, like that. And the example that is given is of Dvivida, the gorilla, who was a very great devotee of Lord Ram, whose mention is there in Ramayana. But somehow he happened to disrespect Lakshmanji, because of which his bhava was lost, and eventually in Krishna Leela he became offensive to Krishna also. So therefore one has to be very careful about offenses. This is where we ended our discussion yesterday. So today we will continue. There are a few more themes left for us to cover in the theme of bhava. We will cover it and then we will start discussing about prema bhakti. So therefore Srila Rupa Goswami continues the discussion by telling, choose your association wisely. So therefore association is extremely critical at every stage of our devotional development. Satam prasangad mama virya samvido bhavanti hritkarna rasayana kata tad joshanadashu apavarga vartmani shraddha ratir bhaktir anukramishyati. Srila Kapil Dev says in the 3rd canto of Srimad Bhagavatam that before this verse he says to, Kapil Dev says to Mother Devahuti, Tayete sadava sadvi sarva sanga vivarjitaha sangasteshu atate prartya sangadosha harahite. He says, my dear mother, you are so eager to achieve liberation from this material contamination. If you take association of these sadhus, these devotees, pure devotees, tayete sadhava sadvi, sarva sangha vivarjita, they are completely cleansed of all material attachments. Sangasteshu atate prartya, if you aspire to take their association, then sangha dosha harahite, you can easily become purified of all your material contaminations. This is what Srila Kapila Dev says. So which means purifying, in order to attain anartha nivritti, you need the association of devotees. But then he says, but don't stop there. Satam prasangad mama virya samvido. If you continue to take that association of devotees even beyond the stage of anartha nivritti, then very quickly you will reach the stage of nishta, he says. That is the meaning of mama virya samvido. At the stage of nishta, one develops realization of the pastimes that one hears. Then he says, bhavanti hritkarna rasayana kata. Then when you continue to take that association of devotees, then that very same in that very same association, that Krishna Katha will become a nectarian beverage to the ears and heart. Bhavanti hrid karna rasayana kata tad joshanad ashu apavarga vartmani shraddha ratir bhaktir anukramishyati. Then further when you continue to take association of those devotees, that nishta transforms into ruchi, ruchi transforms into asakti, Asakti transforms into bhava, and bhava transforms into prema. So at every stage of one's devotional development, the association of exalted devotees is very, very vital. So therefore, emphasizing on this point, Srila Rupa Goswami mentions this theme of how one has to choose one's association very wisely. He says, Gada sangat sadayati mumukshu supratishthite abhasatam asau kimva bhajaniyesha bhavatam. He says, Gada sangat. Gada means very condensed, very intimate association. By intimate association, supratishte mumukshau. Supratishte means firmly fixed. Mumukshus, jnanis, those who are after liberation. By intimately associating with those who are after liberation, impersonal liberation, asau abhasatam sadayati, that bhava can become bhavabhas. Or worse still, if we take very serious association of them, it can even become something called as ahangropasana, where one starts worshipping oneself as the Supreme Lord. So that is how dangerous taking the association of non-devotees, especially the jnanis and the muktikamis, very, very dangerous. It can kill our desire to surrender to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was so heavily against taking Mayavada Bhashya Shunila Hoy Sarvanash, he says. So therefore, one has to be very careful as to whom they associate with. Best is to associate with devotees, the safest association. So, therefore, this is called as ahangropasana, which is actually Vedic recommended path, but it is very, very unfavorable for practice of devotional service, where for some reason one worships oneself as identifying himself with the worshipable object. So therefore, by intimate association with such people, these are actually Vedic followers. They may be Vedic followers, but that is where we lose our discrimination. Even though they may be followers of the Vedic Dharma, but if they are not practitioners of pure devotional faith, then that is where we put our guard down, because we see, oh, he is such a cultured person. He may be a very cultured person, but his heart may not be very conducive for cultivation of pure devotional faith. So therefore, in the name of Vedic association, we should not be indiscriminate actually. We can appreciate them for what they are practicing, but when it comes to association, it must only be with devotees. Otherwise, if we are not extremely careful and advanced, then there is always the chance of getting our heart contaminated by those desires. So, further Srila Rupa Goswami says, Ataeva kvachitteshu navya bhakteshu drishyate krishnam ishvara bhavoyam nrityadau mukti pakshaga. He says, Ataeva kvachit drishyate, sometimes it is seen that navya bhakteshu, very new devotees, mukti pakshaga, who are actually absorbed in their own goals of liberation, like that, kshanam ishvara bhavoyam, for momentarily they identify themselves as the Lord. Nrityadav, when they dance, sometimes you see new devotees dancing and then they dance like, Krishna. They stand in Tribhanga form and they keep their hands in this way as if they are playing flute. So this is common. They are very quickly they start identifying with Krishna. I remember once when I was standing in one of the local stations in Mumbai, Borivali station, and one very nice gentleman, he approached me and he was very speaking very, very nicely. And he was telling that he was sharing his story and things like that. And then suddenly he started telling, in Hindi he told, जब से घर में राधा जी आए सब मंगलमय हो गया. You know, since the time Radharani came home, everything has become very auspicious. So I was thinking that he has brought some deity of Radharani to his home, and then I just wanted to ask, क्यों आप कृष्णा लेके नहीं आए? You didn't bring the deity of Krishna, why only Radharani? Like that I was going to ask. But then in the meantime, when he was sharing his story, I realized that by the name Radharani, he actually meant his own wife. What he meant was, since the time I got married and my wife came home, everything has become very auspicious. But he is telling, जब से राधा जी आए, meaning he is identifying himself as Krishna. If his wife is Radha ji, then he is Krishna. So this kind of mood develops when there is a very strong affiliation or attraction to mukti, or if one associates with such people, one can develop such mood. And such people, when they dance, they will dance exactly like Krishna. So they will stand like Krishna, they will come, everyone is dancing in circle, they will come to the center of circle and stand like Krishna, just like, holding a flute in their hand. Like that. So, even though this verse says that Shanam, for a momentarily they may identify themselves as the Lord, but this moment is not exactly moment, it may continue for quite some time also. So, therefore, one should be careful to choose one's association, because one's association decides where we reach and how fast we reach. Both are dependent on the kind of association that we choose. How fast we reach and where we reach actually. So this is the next theme that I wanted to discuss, that Srila Rupa Goswami discusses in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. And the next theme that he discusses is, sometimes you may see this Bhava Bhakti suddenly appearing in a person. He may be 25-30 years old, having no prior history of practice of bhakti, and suddenly he comes in touch with a devotee, and immediately, and you check the symptoms, you ask exalted devotees, and they say, oh, he is actually on the stage of bhava. So he might genuinely be on the stage of bhava. So how is it that sometimes suddenly that bhava appears like that? So it is mentioned, sadhaneksham vina yasmin akasmat bhava ikshate vignastagitam atrohyam pragbhaviyam susadhanam. Akasmat bhava ikshate. Akasmat, sometimes suddenly out of nowhere, very quickly that person reaches the stage of bhava. Yasmin sadhana iksham vina, where there is no observation of that person following any sadhana. Atra uhyam. Uhyam means one should inference. Uhanam. So there one should infer that pragbhaviyam, in a previous life he must have reached the stage of bhava. Vignastagitam. And in a previous life he must have reached the stage of bhava, but some obstacle must have stopped his progress. He must have left that body, and in this life somehow that obstacle has been removed in this life, and suddenly he starts progressing like that. So just like a dam. So a river is flowing, and after some time you see no water is flowing because a dam has been erected. but then the water level rises in the dam. Then when it goes beyond the danger level, they have to open the dam, open the shutters, and then quickly it starts flowing. So like that, some obstacle has dammed, not D-A-M-N-E-D, but D-A-M-M-E-D. It has acted as a dam to stop that flow of bhava, and then suddenly after a 15, 20, 30 years in the next lifetime, when that obstacle is suddenly released, then the person starts following, starts practicing at the stage of bhava. So sometimes akasmad, sadhana vina, sadhaneksham vina yasmin, akasmad bhava ikshati. Suddenly a person starts practicing on the level of bhava. It is possible. Even though it is very rare, but it is possible. So sadhana refers to all the causes of bhava. It could be Vaidhi sadhana, it could be Raganuga sadhana, anything it could be. Sometimes bhava appears suddenly without knowledge of scriptures, and he may not know much scriptures also, because in this lifetime he has not studied. So sometimes without sadhana, due to or mercy of the devotee or the Supreme Lord, you may see bhava happening. So therefore one should understand that he must have practiced this in his previous life. The example that Srila Jiva Goswami gives here is Vritrasura. So Vritrasura, suddenly he starts speaking like such an exalted devotee. And Indra was shocked. Who is this Vritrasura? He was thinking. That is possible. He was not just a person who had reached the stage of bhava, but he was a person who had attained the personal association of Sankarshan, Lord Sankarshan. Was a perfected devotee. Okay, so we discussed many different types of bhava, broadly two different types. One type is bhava which arises due to sadhana, and bhava that arises due to mercy or kripa. And within bhava that arises out of sadhana, we saw it could come out of Vaidhi sadhana or Raganuga sadhana. And due to kripa, we saw it could come due to kripa of Krishna or kripa of devotee. So broadly four types. Of these four, which is the best type of bhava? Most powerful type of bhava. So Srila Rupa Goswami says, Lokottara chamatkara karaka sarva shaktidah yap pratiyan bhaved bhava satu Krishna prasadajah. He says, Yah bhavaha, that bhava bhakti, Loko uttara chamatkara karakah, which is most amazing than anything in this material world. Sarva Shaktida, which gives all powers. Pratiyan, which is very deep. Satu Krishna Prasadaja Bhavaha. That bhava which arises out of the mercy of Krishna, that is considered to be the most highest form of bhava. A person who becomes a kripa siddha by the mercy of the Supreme Lord or Krishna, that is said to be the highest form of bhava. So, Srila Jiva Goswami says that here Srila Rupa Goswami is trying to hint examples such as Putana. And even amongst the various incarnations of Krishna, those who got the direct mercy of Krishna to reach that stage of bhava, they are considered to be the most glorious. Aho bakiyam stanakala kotam jigamsayapya yadapya sadvi lebe gatim datruchitam tatonyam kamva dayalum sharanam rajema. So that is the nature of Putanas, how she got the mercy of Krishna and progress further, that is mentioned. Then the next theme, which is the 11th theme that Srila Rupa Goswami discusses, is that how one should learn to neglect the faults of a Bhava Bhakta. So, of course, what to speak of a Bhava Bhakta, even the faults of a sadhaka should be neglected. Because it is mentioned that Gangambaso na kalubudbuda fena pankair brahmadраvatvam apagacchati na neera dharmair. Just like Ganga water, even though during the monsoon season may be muddy and filled with bubbles and other such things, but the purifying potency of Ganga water is not compromised because of that. Similarly, even though the devotee may possess some idiosyncrasies, some fault due to his conditioning, but one should not criticize such a devotee, because the path of bhakti is very soon going to cleanse those impurities from his heart. So he continues further, he says, Jane che jata bhavepi vaigunyam iva drishyate karya tatapi nasuya kritartha sarvataiva saha. Vaigunyam iva chet drishyate. If there is some apparent fault seen, jata bhave jane api, even in a person who has reached the stage of bhava, tatapi na asuya karya, one should still not become hostile to that person. Why? Kritartha sarvata eva saha, because he has accomplished all the goals. Because we are still sadhakas, our goal is kriti sadhya bhavet sadhya bhavasa sadhana bida. We perform sadhana bhakti to attain the goal of sadhana bhakti, to attain the goal of bhava bhakti. But here is a person who has attained that goal. So therefore, we should not find any fault with such people. It is first of all very rare that such people will have some fault, but we may see some fault. Like Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur says that I am seeing fault in others because my heart is honeycombed with millions of faults. So therefore, we may be so severely honeycombed with faults that we may start seeing faults even in a bhava bhakta, but we should refrain because it will severely hamper our progress in devotional service. There may be some external bad conduct, but one should not be hostile to him, because by having bhava the person cannot be contaminated by those external actions. So we may see that some external kind of cleanliness may be missing or whatever it may be. So we will be affected by that lack of cleanliness, but a person at the stage of bhava is transcendental to it, he will not be affected. Therefore we should be very careful. So Bhakti Rasam Sindhu, the southern section points out that the bhava bhakta still has very, very minute traces, he could have some minute traces of vasanas due to past aparadhas, which may push him to act in slightly deviant ways. This is the difference between a bhava bhakta and a prema bhakta. Whereas a prema bhakta, it is mentioned, is avigyata akila klesha. He has absolutely no trace of faults, sinful tendencies or aparadh. But nevertheless, even though the bhava bhakta may commit some mistake, but still, because he is so exalted, he should not be criticized, or one should not find fault with such a person. Because the Garuda Puran says, we also chant this mantra many times during deity worship. Om apavitra pavitro va sarvavastam gatopi va yasmaret pundarikaksham sa bahya abhyantara shuchihi. So apavitra pavitro va, whether one is in a pure or contaminated external state, sarvavastam gatopi va, even though that person may have gone to many not so pleasant dirty places, yes maret pundarikaksham, if he can remember the Supreme Personality of Godhead, saha bahya abhyantara shuchihi, he becomes internally and externally cleansed. This bhava bhakta, he is not somehow thinking of Krishna. This bhava bhakta is so exalted that he cannot stop thinking of Krishna. So for such a person, absolutely he is internally and externally cleansed. So therefore this person cannot be criticized because he has accomplished the goal, which is bhava bhakti, the goal of sadhana bhakti. And he quotes this famous verse from the Narsingha Puran, Bhagavati cha harav ananya cheta brusha malinopi virajate manushyaha nahi shasha kalusha chavik kadachit timira prabhavatam upaiti chandraha. Where it is mentioned that Bhagavati cha harav ananya chetaha manushaha, a person who has completely dedicated himself to serving the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Brisha malinopi virajate, he may sometimes show some serious contamination externally, but internally he is very pure. He says, but just like the moon, it is mentioned that Shasha kalusha chavihi. Shasha kalusha chavihi means that person, even though the moon possesses some black spots, which actually looks like a shasha. Shasha is a rabbit. That's why the moon is called as Shashanka. Shashanka means, Anka means marks. Shasha means rabbit. The black spots on the moon from a distance looks like a rabbit with its 2 ears like this. So therefore the moon is called as Shashanka. So even though the moon may possess black spots, but still those black spots do not make the moon completely consumed by darkness. The moon still brilliantly radiates its light. So similarly, even though there may be some idiosyncrasies, some small improper impurities, external impurities that may be seen in a bhava bhakta, but one should understand that they are just like the black spots on the moon. It will not stop that moon from radiating brilliant cooling moon rays, which can be so soothing at night. So similarly, a person at the stage of bhava, even though may show some here and there some mistakes, but one should not take it very seriously. His ability to purify us through his presence is not compromised by the presence of such small mistakes. Internally he is very pure and fixed in his practice of bhakti. Like that. So one should, just like the black spot is only superficial, similarly these mistakes seen in a devotee are only very superficial, like that. Then in one of the last themes that Srila Rupa Goswami discusses here, he says that this bhava is tastier than millions of moons. Even though he has given an example comparing bhava to the moon, but one should not think that the bliss one experiences through the stage of bhava is like the bliss one experiences by going out on a full moon night. It is very beautiful, it is very pleasant, but only for a particular purpose bhava is compared to moon, but the actual bhava is more tastier than millions of moons. Actually there is no comparison. Srila Rupa Goswami says, Ratir Anisha Nisarga Ushna Prabala Antara Ananda Pura Rupaiva Ushmanam Api Vamanti Sudhamshu Koter Api Swadvi. He says, Rati or Bhava Anisha Nisarga Ushna. It's naturally and eternally unstable. Unstable means dynamic. Why? Prabalatara Anandapura Rupaiva. Because of its continuous ever increasing desire to please the Supreme Lord. Anandambudhi Vardhanam. It is not static, it is constantly increasing. The desire to please the Lord is increasing. So therefore, bhava is very unstable. And this instability manifests in the form of various sanchari bhavas, transient emotions. So along with these various transient emotions and then anubhavas, vibhava and sanchari bhava and sattvika bhavas, all of them combined together makes this bhava extremely tasty and very relishable, which cannot be compared even to the pleasantness of millions of moons. Like that, that is what here Srila Rupa Goswami is mentioning. Then the next theme that he discusses is how there are 5 ratis. We have already seen this. He says, this is from Madhurya Kadambini, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti says, this bhava is tasted in different degrees of sweetness, as in various degrees of condensation of mango, jackfruit, sugarcane and grape juice. So these mango, jackfruit, sugarcane, grape juice, these 4 are different flavors. But these can be tasted at different levels of condensation. Sugarcane juice is one, then molasses, then jaggery, then unrefined sugar, then refined sugar. So these are like various levels of condensation. Refined sugar is much more sweeter than sugarcane juice, because sugarcane juice has lot of water also in it. Like that. Similarly, there are 5 types of devotees, just like you have mango, jackfruit, sugarcane and grape juice, 4 different flavors. Similarly, you have Shanta, Dasya, Sakya, Vatsalya and Madhurya, 5 different flavors. And each one of them have their own vibhav, anubhav, vyabhichari bhav, sattvika bhav, like that. If you remember, we discussed this in the previous course. So actually, I again remind you, this course on Raganuga Sadhana Bhakti, in case if you see me using some terminologies but not explaining it, you should understand that we have had elaborate discussions on these terminologies in the previous course. So this is the 3rd course in the sequel, starting from rediscovering Vaidhisadhana Bhakti. Then the 2nd in the sequel was demystifying Raganuga Bhakti. Then the 3rd in the sequel is the royal road ahead, Bhava and Prema Bhakti. So these 3 are covering chapter 1 to chapter 19 of Nectar of Devotion written by Srila Prabhupada. And these 3 courses cover the eastern section of Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, which is the portion for Bhakti Shastri. Okay. But of course, we are not covering it in Bhakti Shastri style, we are covering it little more in depth, along with some commentaries also. So therefore, we had quite elaborate discussion about this Vibhav, Anubhav, Vyabhichari Bhav, Sattvika Bhav and Sthai Bhav. So these are all like called as Samagri Bhavas. What is experienced as rasa or a devotional mellow or a spiritual emotion. So these 5 are the various nuts and bolts, the components of this rasa. When they combine together, the collective experience is what is called as rasa. Like that. But the sthai bhav is what we call here as bhava, which is of 5 types. Shanta, Dasya, Sakya, Vatsalya and Madhurya. Like that. So eventually when this bhava or sthai bhava mixes with vibhav, anubhav, sattvika bhav and sanchari bhav, it becomes what is called as rasa. So Sakya Rati becomes Sakya rasa, Dasya Rati becomes Dasya rasa, Madhurya Rati becomes Madhurya rasa, and Vatsalya Rati becomes Vatsalya rasa, like that. Finally, the last theme that Srila Rupa Goswami discusses here is that how the perfection of all the rasas is in Krishna, who is Akhila Rasamrita Murti. Actually, as we discussed in one of our previous discussions, the Supreme Lord is realized in 3 prominent stages. Brahmeti Paramatmeti Bhagavaniti Shabdate. Vadanti tat tattvavidas tattvam yad jnanam advayam. Brahmeti Paramatmeti Bhagavaniti Shabdate. So it is a one absolute truth only, but understood or experienced in three different levels. The basic understanding of the absolute truth is Brahman. The little evolved understanding is Paramatma. The highest understanding is Bhagavan. So through the process of jnana, which has little bhakti, one can realize the Brahman feature. And through the process of yoga, or if one has little additional level of bhakti, one can realize the Paramatma feature. If one practices pure devotional service, it is not covered by karma, jnana, etc., then one can realize the Bhagavan feature. But what Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to give is not just the Bhagavan understanding. He has come to give the pinnacle of understanding. It is far more than understanding just the Supreme Lord as Bhagavan. So, Brahman realization is to realize the absolute truth in his feature of no form, no qualities, like that, but all pervading, the all pervasive aspect, that's all. So why someone is able to realize only this feature? Just as a person who has severe myopia, or he's very myopic, short-sighted, let's say -7, -8, and somehow if he comes in front of the Supreme Lord and stands about 10 feet, 15 feet from the deities, but removes his glasses, then all that he will see is a vague light actually. He will not see any features because he is severely short-sighted. But when someone has -2 or -3 myopia, short-sightedness, then he sees the form of the Lord, but the features are not very clear. And if someone has perfect vision, 6x6 vision, when he stands in front of the Lord, he sees the perfect feature, all the features of the Supreme Lord. So, what we call here as myopia is devotional myopia. When the jnani who has very little bhakti is severely myopic, is very devotionally short-sighted, so he cannot understand that the absolute truth can be a person. It is very difficult for him to understand. So he thinks that he can relate to the impersonal Brahma Jyoti only. But when that person starts progressing more and more in devotional service, he sees that very same Brahman start manifesting some form and qualities and some pastimes also. So when that person realizes the absolute truth to possess a form and activities, but activities only with respect to this material world, creation, maintenance and destruction of this material world, that realization of the absolute truth is called as Paramatma realization. Realizing the absolute truth to have a form and some activities with respect to this material world only, that is Paramatma realization. But when that person progresses still further in devotional service and come to the stage of pure devotional service, then he can realize the Bhagavan feature, where he can understand, oh, no doubt the Supreme Lord is creating, maintaining and destroying this material world, but he also stays in the spiritual world. Goloka eva nivasatya kilatma bhuto. There he stays with his devotees and he performs various pastimes with his devotees. That understanding is Bhagavan realization, and that is possible only by practice of pure devotional service. But even though there are many different expansions of Bhagavan, as we discussed the other day, all these various kinds of expansions and the Vishnu Tattva incarnations, including Lord Ram, their expression of all the rasas is very much restricted. You know, even Lord Ram, if you see, he had Sakyaras with Sugriva, Guha, like that. But that kind of Sakyaras is indistinguishable from Dasyaras. It is so much filled with awe and reverence. Similarly, even Vatsalyaras for that matter, there are not much childhood pastimes of Krishna where it is indicated even in Ramayana that Mother Sumitra or Kaikeyi or they experienced lot of Kaushalya, they experienced lot of joy experiencing the Balya pastimes of Lord Ram. It's not mentioned that much. And even in Madhurya Ras, Mother Sita has her affection for Lord Ram is filled with lot of awe and reverence, and also its wedded love, Swakiya Ras. The Parakiya Ras that is seen in Vrindavan is not there. So, even though realizing the feature of Lord Ram is complete Bhagavan realization, but it is not most complete. It is complete, but the most complete understanding or realization of the Supreme Lord is Krishna in Vrindavan, because he exhibits all the 12 rasas in full. There are 5 primary rasas and 7 secondary rasas. So all those rasas are fully exhibited by Krishna in Vrindavan only. And that is the understanding that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to give. Aradhyo Bhagavan Vrajesha Tanayas Tadhama Vrindavanam. So that Krishna in Vrindavan is actually Akhila Rasamrita Murti. So understanding or realization of that Krishna in Vrindavan, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to give. So Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur in Madhurya Kadamini mentions that he says that rasa is the very essence of Lord. Raso Vaisaha, like we saw, the Taittiriya Upanishad says, Raso Vaisaha rasam hi evayam labdva anandi bhavati. The Supreme Lord is rasa incarnate. And when that living entity comes in touch with that rasa of the Supreme Lord, he becomes extremely jubilant. So here an analogy is given by Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. He says that streams have water, rivers have water, ponds have water, but when you take an ocean you can say it is like personified water. There is only water and water alone. Water everywhere that makes the ships to sink. Water everywhere, but not a drop to drink. This just I got reminded of one of the poems that we read in our schools about the ocean, the nature of ocean. Water everywhere was a poem written by an English poet called Samuel L. Coleridge. A Rime of the Ancient Mariner, that is the name of the poem. You have some vivid material memories which are very deep rooted. So, the nature of that ocean is everywhere there is water, but of course, the water is salty, you cannot drink it. So, just as water is present in all the streams, rivers and ponds, but is water personified in the ocean, similarly, even though rasa may be present in all the avataras, but the rasas touch their perfection and attain perfect climax in Krishna in Vrindavan. Rasa, which is Krishna himself, which appears at the first stage of maturity of bhava and becomes fully substantiated at the stage of prema, is directly experienced by such a qualified devotee. So, in a very bud form, this rasa is present at the stage of bhava also, but it reaches complete perfection at the stage of prema. So, like that. So, in this way, we have discussed various themes and topics on this topic of bhava. So, we have another 5 minutes left. but I don't want to start a new topic. Prema is starting, so we might as well take this topic of prema tomorrow. Otherwise, it will become little imbalanced. So I'll let you go 5 minutes early so that you can go to sleep early and get up early and chant your rounds nicely. So thank you very much for your patient listening. Even though this topic is quite exalted, I'm not qualified to speak on this topic, but nevertheless, Rupa Goswami has presented and Srila Prabhupada has presented. So whatever is there, we are just trying to read and understand. Of course, realization of this is a long way, but at least we can try to understand and appreciate. We should know what lies ahead in our journey so that it can inspire us in our practice of devotional service. For that purpose, we are discussing this. So thank you very much again for your patient listening. It was a great pleasure having your association the last 5 days. Hoping to have your association in the coming few days also. So Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srila Rupa Goswami Pad ki jai, Shri Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu ki jai. Hare Krishna.